So, good evening, sir. Good evening, classmates. So, this is my report. The lesson 11, which is Sex and Senses. And let me read the learning objective. At the end of the lesson, student will be able to discuss the human senses in the context of sexual respond and shows appreciations of how the sensorium contributes to our experience of human sexuality. So, the introductions of Sex and Senses is this uh, we have this five senses comprises our sensorium, the totality of our sensory experience and perceptions, while we receive information from environment through the sense of our brain has the ability to organize and interpret this numerous stimuli into meaningful ideas that are useful for our choices or behavior. So, sensorium, this is the totality of our sensory experience and perceptions. So, in the terms of every content, the presence of the five senses are very important para malaman natin kung ano ang halaga ng five senses in terms of sex and sexuality. So, what are the what are the five sensorium senses or sensorium? First is the color, shape, at saka size ng isang bagay. Next is the sense of smell. So, ginagamit natin siya pang-amoy. So, we are able to experience sense um, like may niluluto um, yung mother mo. So, masisense mo kung masarap ba siya kasi you can smell it, you can experience sense. So, next is the um, sense of hearing. So, the sense of hearing, so that we are able to experience sounds of vibrating tones, pitches, and volume. Uh, ginagamit natin yung sense of hearing para marinig natin kung gaano kaingay or katahimik ang isang lugar. So, um, in sense of hearing is malalaman natin na um, gaano kaganda or gaano kaingay or gaano ka-peaceful yung isang lugar sa magagamit natin yung hearing. So, the second to the last sense or sensorium is the sense of taste. So, the sense of taste, so that we are able to experience the taste like saltness, sweetness, and bitterness, or etc. of our food in other object we put in our mouth. So, ginagamit natin yung mouth natin para matikman ang isang bagay kung masarap ito. Hindi lang natin we are not hindi lang natin ginagamit yung sense of smell natin to experience sense na masarap yung niluto niya. Siyempre, kailangan nating gamitin yung sense of taste para malaman talaga natin kung masarap ba talaga yung isang bagay or yung isang pagkain. So, the last is the sense of touch or feeling. So that we are able to have a tactile experience or hit its absence or various texture. So, the sense of touch or the sense of feeling this is important para malaman natin ang isang bagay or plain ba ito or rough or mainit ba ito or malamig. So dito natin malalaman isang bagay kung um, ma plain ba siya or rough ba siya or kind of ano any kind of heat or even cold yung isang bagay. So next is the effect of primary hypothesis. So according to Zach as Zagone Zagok 1980 1980 1918 1980 rather, according to Zakok 1980. So postulate that is many cases cognitive process or higher. So it is a higher order thinking. So a higher order thinking play a lesser role compared to our emotional response in cl- clarity behavior. So it is a play a lesser role compared to our emotional response in um, illicit behavior. So by the virtue of this hypothesis, so according to this hypothesis, the effective of primary hypothesis according to Zakok 1980 is by virtue of this hypothesis, by default, our emotion take rescendent primary because they are only processed and modulate by the limbic system. So, it is said that this effect of primary hypothesis according to Zakok 1980 is a higher cognitive process. So it is a higher order thinking, and it process um, and modulate by the limbic system. So this is the three primary emotional responses. First is the fight. So response is when we face the fight. So pag pag um na, pag napapalaban tayo or napupunta tayo sa isang sitwasyon na kung saan kailangan nating lumaban. So we fight or we face adverse or dangerous stimulus squarely. So dito natin magagamit yung emotional natin na kailangan nating lumaban kasi kailangan talaga na lumaban tayo for the sake of our good. So next is the fight, the flight. So the flight is when we respond when we face more away from the adverse of dangerous stimuli. Ito is yung parang slightly kailangan natin siyang lumayo or mag-isip na hindi natin kailangan lumaban or kailangan hindi natin kailangan lumaban sa mga bagay na alam natin na mapapahamak tayo. And the last is the freeze. So, the freeze is response is when we pace starkly and are unable to make choice. Dito, 'di ba? Like it is obvious naman sa sa ating sa freeze na meaning or sa freeze na words that when we are in the situation na sometimes 'di ba mapapaisip tayo na parang parang hindi na tayo nakakagalaw, hindi na tayo nakaka make a choice or hindi na tayo nakakaisip kung ano yung gagawin natin. So we are just napi-freeze yung utak natin, napi-freeze yung emotional natin sa mga bagay na nagagalit tayo or maybe na shock tayo, no. So That are the three emotional responses. First is the first is the fight, when we are going to respond to that situations na kailangan nating lumaban para hindi tayo mapahamak or nakakabuti sa good natin, or parang gusto nating lumaban kasi feel natin na um, parang kailangan na nating lumaban to the point. And the flight is um, lumayo tayo sa mga bagay um, na iisipan nating lumayo sa mga bagay na alam natin na hindi natin kaya yung ganung sitwasyon. And the third is the freeze. So, the freeze is, ito yung hindi na tayo nakakaisip kasi sa mga bagay na minsan nasishock tayo or minsan nagagalit tayo.
Senses and sexuality. Having provided an overview on how human affect the sensorium and the brain limbic system coordinates, we are now ready to discuss how the previous senses play in the human sexual response. So first is the visual experience. Humans are predominantly visual. So visual culture is an essential element of our society. Visual memory is deemed superior to other forms. So context of human sexuality. Women were found to be more influenced by context, although they too are responsive to the sexual content of visual stimuli. Women and men differ in strategies of viewing sexual stimuli. Women tend to pay more attention to contextual and non-sexually cues than men, according to Land and Eveyard. Olfaction experience. Olfaction is non-human animals which are believed to be microscopic organisms. Women olfactions influence sexuality. Signatures other, which is associated with the major histocompatibility complex. Human pheromones or menstrual synchrony. Androstenedione is a testosterone-like substance found in male sweat, saliva, and urine. So here is the example. So letter B is the estraterenol, an estrogen like found in female urine. So letter C is a iprolin, a substance found in human semen, public sweat, and stigma. So the third is the tactile experience. Touch is observed to be an element of intimacy. So as a sensation, touch has some elements. First is the tactile. So the second is the thermal, and the third one is vibrational. So primary erogenous zone and secondary erogenous zone. So in the tactile experience, oxytocin is referred to as the love hormone. Touch is suggested to be one of the love languages in tactile experience. The last one is the auditory experience. Social interactions are not only visual but are also auditory process. Sounds give additional context to a sexual situation. So that is the last topic for the sex and senses in sex and gender. So that's all about the sex and senses in sex and gender. So thank you for watching or listening. Good luck and goodbye.